Okay, the next step will be to take the large white wire coming off the stator, small black wire coming off the stator, and the large green wire that goes to the output harness. Put the three of these wires together. During the disassembly process, it was held on with a screw with a lock washer. And that goes in the threaded hole right above the breaker assembly. Okay, so now you've got the two red wires that go to the top of the breakers, the green wire that goes to the output harness, the black wire that goes to the post, or comes from the post. Ultimately, that black wire is the small black wire that plugs into the cooling fan relay. And then, of course, the white wire that goes into the stator. At this point, I go ahead and put the clip to retain those wires so they don't go anywhere. Again, that'll be the 5 wires. Black, green, white, 2 reds come from here, run up through this clip, and then on to their destination. Plugging into the bottom of the circuit breakers will be the 2 red wires that go to the output harness. Once you get the wires in position, go ahead and pull the slack out of them. You'll have a 14mm wire clip which goes around the 5 wires for the output harness, 2 red, 2 white, 1 green, and also the harness that comes from the stator going to the voltage regulator. So put the clip around the regulator wires and then around the output harness. So that's retained like this now. Then the voltage regulator harness has an additional clip. Goes right between the end of the plastic sleeve and the plug and is held in place by a screw right at the top. If the wire clips tend to twist on you when you're tightening down the bolt, just put a screwdriver in next to them. Truth be known, it really doesn't matter if they're twisted just slightly. It just looks ugly. The cooling fan wiring harness will plug into the 2-wire Molex plug that's connected to the harness that goes to the relay. Incidentally, if you're ever changing a cooling fan, make sure it is installed with the lettering up. Most people will install them in the fan shroud like this. The 3 holes are 120 degrees apart. They'll bolt in perfectly like this, and they think because the wiring harness goes up and around that it goes this way. The problem is there is one drain hole right here. If this drain hole is at the bottom, the lettering is at the top, the brush holders and the wiring harness come down out of the bottom and make a U-turn and go up and into the harness. If you simply bolt it in this way, look at the bottom, no drain hole. It actually fills up with moisture from humidity in the air. That will severely shorten the service life of the cooling fan. Okay, the next step, we're going to need a control box. If you're putting in a brand new control box, take a minute to make sure that they shipped it with fuses in it. I have received them with no fuses. As long as you're going this far, you might as well make sure the fuses aren't blown. I've never had one with blown fuses yet, but it's real easy to check. Okay, the wiring harness has these white bullet connectors. They plug into the slots in the back of the control box. The control box assembly is held in place by one 6mm diameter screw. If this screw is omitted, or if this screw is loose, sometimes the generator will not start at all. Other times it'll start and install immediately. The control box has to be grounded in order for this generator to run. This wire is the starter motor wire. The 9-pin Molex is the main wiring harness. Then the 5-pin Molex goes into the 5-pin Molex on the control box. the 2-pin harness. The white wire is used to charge the generator's starting battery. The red wire is powered by subwinding number 1. When the red wire is powered up, it goes to the small red wire on the relay, which energizes the coil of the relay, which closes it, which turns on the cooling fan. However, this generator is going to be installed in a closed-circuit TV truck. And the closed-circuit TV trucks, news trucks, and tool trucks run large batteries for all their hotel loads that they also assign to be starting batteries for the generator. If the generator starting battery drops below 10.2 volts, it will burn out the stator. Notice I said will, not can. I cannot think of very many instances where it's a good idea to leave subwinding number 2 assigned to charge the start battery. Because the Snap-on tool trucks, Matco tool trucks, any of the tool trucks generally use a 50 amp power converter to charge the start battery. Subwinding number 2 on this is only capable of 1.5 amp continuous or 5 amps maximum. And that 5 amps maximum, we're talking downhill with a tailwind. It'll put out 5 amps. The power converter that's already in the truck will put out 50 amps. So this is useless. If something happens with the battery, or if there's large DC loads applied to it, it's going to drop the battery voltage below 10.2 volts, and it will burn up the charging system, or it will burn up subwinding number 2, attempting to keep it charged. And that's probably a decent place to take a break.